Hi guys, Shane here, Odds Flight Simmer. Welcome to another episode of Test Drive. This is a series where I'll take a aircraft, a scenery, a utility, and I'll take it a spin around the block and I'll give you my first impressions of what I actually think of the product. So today we are checking out Carenado's new title, the 690 Turbo Comannder. So if you've watched my videos, especially my air hauler series, you know that I've spent a fair bit of time in the Shrike. So naturally I was going to actually pick this up, being the next step forward in those types of aircraft, being a turboprop. So put two of my favorite things together and this is what comes out. So just going through to start off with, obviously it's got the normal stuff from Carenado when it looks absolutely beautiful. Not really seen anything new in their texture styles, but it does look pretty good. So the Turbo Comannder comes with a couple of different versions. They actually have a light version and they have this version, which is the normal one. I'm running this today on prepared version 4 and it's working fine. Normally when I do these test drive videos, I've pretty much just started the engine and you're getting my very first impressions. But this one here, actually this will be my third flight in the Turbo Comannder. And the reason why I did that is because to start off with, for the price that I actually paid for the aircraft, that's probably one of my favorite spots of the aircraft there, especially that exhaust is pretty cool. But going back to what I was actually saying, I did a couple of flights because I actually didn't like the aircraft to start off with. It took a while to adjust, and look at that, the same old things for Carenado, which look pretty good with that back tail there. You can see every rivet, and you can see all the scratches and dents. This is obviously a bit of a worn aircraft, but yeah, it took me a while to get used to it. So, you know, when you're sort of paying these prices of $52 Australian or $39.95 US, and being Carenado's first V4 release sort of aircraft, I thought I might see some new things for the guys down there, what they're doing, but no, really didn't see anything. But I've done a couple of flights and it's really starting to grow on me, and I'm still very happy that I actually purchased the aircraft. So November 690 Bravo Delta, on this test drive, we're actually doing a true to life flight. So I actually found the last flight that this aircraft actually did. So we are using the weather, the time, the actual flight, and we're going to actually reenact for this test drive the true flight that this aircraft actually did for this livery. So that's going to be pretty cool. So just checking out the baggage area there. So that's been a bit of a big, larger aircraft, I should say. They've actually modeled that, so which is really, really cool. But the actual, you know, the Turbo Comannder, same as the Shrike, it's just a completely different looking type of aircraft. So which is really cool, and having the extra horses, being a turbo, should make things very interesting. So within saying all that, let's jump into the cockpit and I guess get this bird in the air. So decided to use GSX to push us back, but we'll just get underway in a second. I should actually have the battery turned on and a few systems ready to go, and also the beacon, but I forgot to do that. But that's alright, you'll be able to see everything once we flick the batteries on from start to finish and getting the engines on. So we're just going to go through that in a second. We'll just wait for GSX to move the tug away and we should be good to go.
Unlocking gear. Tow truck disconnected. Bypass being removed.
Alrighty, so we're going to do a cold and dark startup. So we're going to turn the batteries on and turn the control for the engines on. We'll turn the anti-collision and the nav lights on. And a bit of a confusion, some things I've read that you should have the doors locked at this stage, and then there's some been true life videos that I've actually seen and they don't lock the door just in case you need to evacuate, so that's always interesting. But starting the left engine, waiting for the spool up there. Turn the left generator on, and then we'll go and turn the right engine on. So obviously this is not all to procedure, or it's close to, but it's very hard to learn this sort of stuff when you're reading the Carenado manuals. They're very sparse. So the right engine turning on. We'll jump outside and have a look at the view so you can hear the sounds. So all the avionics and everything's turned on. We're just getting the taxi lights, and we'll start heading away, just turning the lock off of the throttles. So like I was saying before, today's flight is actually a real flight. So we're going to be taking this turbo Comannder out from T30, which is McKinley's Fields, and we'll be going to KSJT, which is San Angelio's regional field. So this is all in Texas. So we'll be taking off runway 31. I think it's about 4 or 5 knots of wind. So we'll be climbing to an altitude of 16,500 feet, and it's a pretty short flight. But this is what this actual aircraft and this livery did back in January. So really looking forward to it. So, but the Carenado Turbo Comannder, it taxis well. I had a few issues with this particular taxi. I wanted to go to the right there, which you can just start to see, but the 2 other test flights I did, it performed well. So either I've messed something up or I need to recalibrate my pedals. But we're going to just drop down to the end of the runway, and we're going to turn around, configure for flight, and get going. We'll go right down the end to do our turn, although you don't need much runway space with the Turbo Comannder, because it's got a lot of juice, and every time I actually take this aircraft or do the takeoff, always catches me off guard by how quickly it accelerates and how quickly it takes off, so which is always a lot of fun. So I'm going to leave you there. I'll come back to you shortly after we've taken off. Enjoy the sounds and the views as we leave McKinley Field, and talk to you soon. So as you can see, the Turbo Comannder is a rocket ship when it comes to taking off. For most of that takeoff, only had 75% throttle, so it was pretty cool. So if you want to take that next step and fly some cross-country flights and do it quickly, it's probably one of the quickest and most powerful turbo props or turbo twin props I've actually got in my fleet. So it's pretty cool. So we're just passing 3,000 feet. We're going to turn the autopilot on, and I'll show you some views of the outside of the aircraft as we're departing McKinley Field. Welcome back to the flight deck of the Carenado Turbo Comannder. So we're going to take a bit of a look around the cabin and the cockpit, but the first thing I did notice for this aircraft was the actual yoke and the work they've done with the actual shine on it. So a little bit different, and it does look pretty cool. The difference between the Strike and the Turbo Comannder is obviously there is more functionality and more features in the aircraft. So you got things like, because it's turbo, it flies higher, so you've got environmental controls. Obviously, being a turbo, there's different things you need to worry about. So there's a lot more buttons. So it is taking sort of a step forward, so to speak. But as we go over the overhead, we'll have a look at all the different buttons and some things like all different icing equipment and stuff like that. So that's pretty cool, and it's a lot of fun. But one thing though, if you're sort of paying this sort of money for aircraft, I really think that Carenado need to step up and change the sounds for their buttons instead of using the same sort of sound set that they do with all their aircraft. So I wish that would change. But we'll start panning around, and we'll have a bit of a different view of the cockpit. So obviously all the seat textures and everything look pretty good for Carenado standards, but nothing we haven't seen any differently than any aircraft, but still up to a very good quality. And as we can see, we've got a lot of room in this aircraft, so an extra seat. Actually, there might be 3 extra seats. I don't know if it was just 2 in previous Strike, but we have one here. And obviously this is an older aircraft, but it is in good nick, so no stains in the carpet or anything like that, so which is pretty cool. One thing that they may fix in the 1.1 update that has been released, but not at this time of the video, is that I did actually press some clickables down below here, and what it actually did, it says it's actually going to put the parking brake on, but it actually opened up the door on a stream that I did 2 nights ago, which made things quite interesting. But that's an absolutely fantastic view there. And ooh, we're getting a bit of turbulence, but it's shop as we are going up. But I love the veneer look there. Well, it's different. Love the veneer look on the woodwork there. But we'll just come into the back there, and you know, all the sort of standard stuff that the tray tables open up like lightning, but they all work there. Haven't really found any issues other than when you're hitting the seat belts, it's turning the parking brake on, which is quite interesting. So hopefully they will fix that. But not a bad view of the engines from the outside as you're drinking some wine or beer going to your destination. But pretty standard stuff for cockpits, but it does look rather nice. So they have done pretty good with their rendition of this one. And even though this is not the light version, I haven't found any issues, and you'll be able to see my computer specs below. regarding frames hasn't affected my performance of my PC at all, so I won't be looking at the light version at all. But we'll just make our way up to the cockpit. We'll jump into montage so you can see the outside of the aircraft as we're flying along, and then we'll come back and we'll be basically on approach, I think, into a runway 3 in San Angelo. So I'll talk to you soon, guys. So looking awesome in the air, but we're just coming to our top of descent, so we're going to start descending, but autopilot is a breeze. Everything's pretty much in the one section, which is unlike the Shrike. It's a little bit all over the place, so I do enjoy the autopilot with this aircraft a lot better. But we'll keep descending and we'll come back on approach. So just to make our right hand turn into a runway 3, I've got everything dialed in for an ILS approach, but I'm going to manually fly it in so I can get a feel for the aircraft. But the autopilot has performed seamlessly, no real issues there. I actually like it better than the previous Shrike, but the aircraft has been pretty good so far, and I tell you what, the trip was super quick. It was good to actually fly a little bit higher than what you'd normally do with a Shrike, so, and some more things to play around with, so I've very much been enjoying that so far. So we'll bring up a wing view as we come into land. Obviously we're a fair bit out, probably a little bit low, and I can see there's some power lines in the distance right over the where we need to go, so that's going to make things a little bit interesting. But on descent, everything was handled okay. It's not really a slippery aircraft, so you can slow it down quite well, so that was one of my concerns. Obviously with the gears, you can't really hear the gears actually coming down, so you need to listen, or actually not listen, you need to go down and make sure you've got 3 green. That's one thing different than the Shrike, which is quite loud, but all in all, it's been a great aircraft, and I'm really starting to enjoy the flights. But so on the other thing, coming to approach runway 3, because it's a turbo, you're going to have that lag, so it's a bit different than the Shrike. Here you've got that instant power, or the instant reduction of power. So this will make sure you need to keep your skills level up and be quite interesting on every actual landing. But I'm going to shut up now so you guys can listen to the Turbo Commando as we come in, and I'll talk to you just after we've landed. So talk to you soon. that was a very interesting landing and approach, considering we were recommended allowed runway 3, we were crosswind, so that was cool. I'm going to leave you the replay and we'll come back soon. Definitely landed on the left landing, the rear left landing gear first, so that was a lot of fun. I had some issues with the auto reverse, but that was all my fault there. But it was interesting. I really enjoyed that landing. Needed to work a little bit harder with the lag, but what we're going to do, something normally I don't do on my test drives, is we're going to have a look at the night lighting, particularly because this is a V4 aircraft. So we'll take a look. So the lighting looks pretty good. I really like the strobe effects there, but from what my research is, it's actually not a V4 lighting, it's actually V3, so not dynamic lighting from what I can actually tell, so which is a little bit disappointing because it's Carenado's first V4 aircraft. So I was expecting for that to be in there, but it's not, so maybe they'll bring it out in a patch coming up soon. But we'll jump inside and we'll have a look at the lighting in there. But yeah, and as we jump into the cockpit, lighting's pretty standard there, so nothing really to worry about. But thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this test drive. My overall would be, if you've got the Carenado Shrike, have a think about it before you pick this one up. But if you haven't got it, definitely go and grab it. It's a little bit on the pricey side for what it is, and being a V4 aircraft, I was thinking it might be a couple of extra surprises there, but it wasn't. But I'm still happy with the purchase, and I'll be spending a lot of hours in there because it is a unique aircraft that Carenado have picked for this one. So thanks very much for watching. Please like, and if you do, hit that subscribe button so you can see some more, and I'll talk to you on the next video or on the next stream. So cheers, have an awesome day, goodbye.